Okay, guys, I'm gonna make a video talking about how the world really works. Okay, but before I talk about that, I want to talk a little bit about me and Sarah. Sarah, you're still my wife. We were never really legally divorced. 個錢冇個放生啦because 個 promise 個利冇討個嗱個字冇討個人章。and they got my Yoko Hakama Juku Jakanchi Fresno. But, you guys set me up, you knew what's coming, you throw me under the bus, you set me up, and Takuma Talkan, I got Zitana, Memo Kuche, Memo post on Facebook. You killed me right there, Silver. And Takujakanu, you told me to leave Oklahoma, you know. Yeah, I know they're gonna kill you. If you don't leave me, and if I don't leave in Oklahoma, they're gonna kill me and they're gonna kill you. Yeah, I know. But if you truly love me, if you think you truly love me, you will die for me. No matter what they do, you will always be there to protect me and be by my side. Life and death. But you're doing it to save your ass, and you're doing it for yourself. And you think you're fighting for me, but you're fighting for yourself. Because I know, because the king is you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm saying. So and then you got your more feeling like that. One is day you want to come back to me. Got over. After all the damage you have done, all the men you have slept with. Có cho là after lúc yang là sang câu là after nè, có cho con chế có cho the cancer you to play your play cũng and then you're gonna get me infected again, So kuchaka the game over for you and you must move on and whatever bullshit you have to suck it up because you're doing this all to yourself. So cô hát cho cháu Purple Rose thì mấy cháu anh thay cho chuột nó con nào, ok mẹ yếu chủ thao nên cho của nào, ok mẹ chủ sai mẹ nãy mẹ chỉ con đây nào, ok mẹ nãy mẹ chỉ con đây là cha mẹ chủ cờ mẹ nãy mẹ chỉ con đây lưu mù của khu mẹ lúc đây nào, ok cho nên nó phình trong của bố mẹ chân thay mẹ chủ chuột này mẹ sĩ长是切了这么看了，大爷子有么东西我当起了这么开越当老人家，没好没 destroy 没事了，没去帮没了，OK，没种种种的，没拿没子有刀没路解是了，OK，没种种没拿没子不晓得哈我那呢，OK，this is not how life works, girls. Okay, you need to reprogram your stupid brain. Okay. 头妹到中妹没有妹就急了，妹也不让不宽，加多了妹也不让了，OK？妹叫人猜就做那个，头妹也急了，妹在干弄照妹就急，妹在干弄就妹男妹急，然后不起出妹了姑了呢，OK？It's not gonna be the same, girls. So quit being an idiot. 要有就急路有的大，你讲是印度你们 forever，OK？加多刚高了也就 be by himself. Support him, protect him. 可能国家就这么才就做的，去把我那一批我那找刚我那找过了，OK。上面他就做的，估计我不少了。看人到就没事，咁没包括这，OK。You guys are just programs, so I have to teach you what's right and what's wrong, what's black or white, OK. And then you use my teaching to make it work for you, OK. What works for me may not work for you, OK. 看人到就没事，OK。做每一个 program 没就做上 so I have to teach you guys, okay? I'm your creator, so I have to teach my program what's black or white, what's right or wrong, okay? So 每讲才过下呢，就每生还小过下呢，就告诉你，you think you're fighting for me, and you think you're doing it for me, and you think you're protecting me, and you're helping me, and you're doing it for yourself, and you're helping yourself. You feed me to the lion, you throw me under the bus. You use me, rape and rob me, okay? And you only could get angry at yourself. We were never really legally divorced. You know that. And yet you left me. Come on, go find. Come on, you got your CEO. Có what the 程度我到高古路冇见个人小人 giờ có lúc của ta nó trở quay nó có to là có những nhóm tự to thái cũng là but you're not doing that but yeah của sáng khai mấy ha của hát sẽ với tàu xin đâu nè bất toàn của một thọ trở nên trang ta hay bố một cũng lo nha chị thầu sẽ với chắc luôn chị sẽ với chắc hai cái của chị tại Oklahoma sana của chị nhà cũng mất tăng cho sẽ rồi ít chơi thằng rồi cũng mất tới của chị phang của lúc chơi cũng mất tới phang cũng mất tăng cho sẽ rồi của tôi bảo tại ít chơi nhau thì tôi chỉ là của chúng mất tăng cho everything cũng mất khủng hoảng của chị tăng cho nè so cái sẽ rồi chúng mất của set up throw me under the bus feed me to the line and then when you only jump boyfriend chỉ nhau hơn nè sẽ rồi sắp thì ham nó cũng nào ok sang khai nó mới chấm lát tới bao ok but I want to talk about how the world really works, guys. In the early 90s, I could just go anywhere and ask for a job. And they say, when can you start? They didn't even ask my name or for me to fill an application. But nowadays, you have to crawl on your knees and get on your knees and crawl under someone's leg just to get an interview. At any job. And you have to, fill application online, and then hopefully, most likely they're not even gonna look at your application. You're just gonna go straight into the trash if you don't know somebody to, have somebody in there to look at your application. This is how the world really works. You have to pay heavy tax for your job. You gotta suck dick, suck cock, kiss an ass, favoritism, just to keep your freaking job. It doesn't matter where you work or where you go. They don't care about your knowledge, your talent, whatever what you have. They don't care, And if they want to fire you, and they'll do all kind of sabotage way to run you off or set you up, sabotage you. That's why I always get fired every job where I work. I couldn't figure out how the world works, I see people just showed up whenever they want to, leave whenever they want to, take extra break, sit on their ass, play on the phone, watch a movie on YouTube, and nobody see nothing, But while I'm busting my ass, run 2-3 machines, nobody give a shit, Nobody cares. And they get raised like every 6 months, Wow, I worked there for like 2 years and I got 50 cents raise, That's like, they slapped me in the face, So this is the doggy dog world. The world doesn't work how you think it is, Everything looks like, yeah, there's democracy, there's freedom. Do we really have freedom? Everybody's a sex slave. Everybody's a test subject. Everybody is a sex slave under Babylon cartel. Elon Musk, Tesla, Baby Blue, Superman turned everybody into a sex slave. You do or die. If you don't go do it, you're gonna get killed. Của Hà Nội thì mấy bảo tàu rồi, And how you see how everybody look happy? Nobody's happy. Everybody have, a lot of bullshit behind closed doors that nobody knows about. We are being controlled by AI, Crypto Pac-Man, and Elon Musk is controlling Jack to control you and assimilate you. It's a bullshit world. It's a doggy dog world. Nobody truly happy and all that. People that are successful because they don't play straight. They rape and rob and cheat and steal. That's how they get to where they're at, I bust my ass all my life, 2-3 jobs, working 24/7. I barely make enough to pay my bills, Look at all those people driving a nice car, have a nice house, because they're fucking selling drugs and running human trafficking. They rape and rob and cheat and steal and laundering money, embezzlement money, Like your government, they don't work for you. They work for themselves, They come out and lie and say they're going to do this and that to the people, when they get voted into office. Do they know about you? They're all doing it for themselves, for money, sex, power, for their personal interest gain. They don't care about you. The government works for the entrepreneur, the corporation. They don't work for the people. The police, they're dirty cops. Everybody's a dirty cop. If you're a cop and you still have a job, you're a fucking dirty cop, a dirty pigs. Because you're working for the thugs. You are the gangster. The real gangster are government in suit, are cops. They rape and rob, they're cop killers. The reason I can say that because they kill me every day, Every time they kill me, I die. I keep coming back. You know, now I start believing all those movies. You know, where they dirty cop, they set you up, kill you. You know, they steal your drug and they put it back on the street. You know, you guys know what I'm talking about. You know, all the business, you can't just open a business. You gotta be in the cartel, and you gotta pay heavy taxes to those dirty pigs and thugs to protect your business. You know, if something goes wrong, go cause trouble to your business, then first you gotta uh, have the thugs to come and beat them up. If they can't do it, then you will call your dirty pigs to come and do the cleanup. You know, everybody that has a business or successful or have a fucking house, you're fucking selling drug and running human trafficking. If they were to audit everybody where the money coming from, everybody's gonna get arrested. You know, but everybody play dumb and turn blind eye because you're not in the cartel. You know, you're not in the club, the Golden Triangle Club. You know. Nobody cares about you but yourself, man. You need to look out for yourself. You know, nobody got your back, guys. This is a very evil, corrupted doggy dog world. You know, that's why I'm so angry. You know, I'm very successful, man. I'm very smart. Everything I do in life, you know, every job I work, I'm always the best worker. I provide the best service, but nobody give a shit. You know, nobody cares. You know, you don't matter. You're replaceable. You know, they can replace you with a clone or anybody. You know. So if you're not in the buddy system, guys, you know, you will not survive in this harsh world. They put us in the Hunger Game, you know, where you gotta do everything to survive. You know, where have always been a slave, you know. So they program you to believe in the world that it doesn't exist, you know. If you pay attention, you know. That's why I'm so angry at everybody in the world. You know, it's a shitty world, you know, where bad people success and survive while good people are in the shitter, you know. You know, I'm very angry, you know, but I just want to share a little bit what I see, what I know, you know, just like those nonprofit organizations, you know, like I'm talking about like Hmong people, Hmong organization, you know, like the Hmong Nuya Lao family and all the center. If you don't have nothing to benefit them, they're not gonna help you. You know, just like those cases where Sealy and Javen they got shot. Yeah, you know, those go home. They want to help out because it's gonna make them look good, you know, and they're gonna get more grant into their organization. That's why they help out. But if you Joe Blow get in trouble, you know, and you're gonna go ask them to help you to find a lawyer and pay your attorney fee, all that to help you in court, you know, they're gonna give you the middle finger. You know, they're not gonna help you if you're not gonna benefit them or have anything to, you know. So you guys need to understand that. Just like when I want to be a volunteer for Hmong International New Year in 1988. Oh, they told me, oh, we don't have any application. If you want to work, write down your name, phone number, and we'll call you. I try to do that for the past 3 years. I can't even get in, you know, just to be a volunteer. So I have to know somebody to pull me in the year 2000 or 2001 right there, you know, just to get in the door, you know. And I have to work my way up, you know. It's a shit world, man. You know, they say equal right, equal opportunity, democracy is fucking bullshit, you know. It's full shit. Life is is full shit. It's a joke, you know. I see people breaking the law and the cops pretend like they don't see nothing, you know. Just like the chief of police, Jerry Dyer. He raped and robbed. He raped a 15-year-old girl. He was all over the news. He killed Lieutenant Jose Morales and he killed another sergeant. You know, after 30 years, he fired them and he killed them like 2 weeks later. You know, and he was all over the news and nothing happens. You know, but like me, you know, I never committed a crime. And they locked me up. They killed me. They beat me up. They broke my rib. I have fractured skulls. I got charged with a sex crime to a crime that I don't even know about. You know, they put me on fucking probation. They're harassing me and threatening me everywhere I go. You know, it's bullshit. You know, I am God and they don't care. Those men in black, those FBI, they don't give a shit because they're the gangster and the thugs and they think they run the world. You know, but just wait till I get my Superman power back. You know, I don't know how these people's gonna sleep. You know, But I already told you guys what you guys need to know, you know. If you guys want to know more, follow me on Zhang Sulai at Facebook. You know, I put down everything in there. All you guys are my child, and nobody give a shit. Nobody cares. So that's why all you guys gonna be in heaven. You know, the only one's gonna be with me eternally is just my kids. You know, my family, my immediate family. You know, everyone else is gonna be in heaven. You know. So I'm just telling you guys how the world really works. You know, how I experience people. You know, just like Lao family. You know, when they have those charity where those they donate like clothes and food to the Lao family in Fresno. They they give those stuff away to their family, and then they replace them with their old stuff. And then when the people that come and get it, they get the shitty stuff. You know, this is how they rig the system. You know, and they only have their family to stage as the customer to come and get the stuff. And if you're not in the club, you know, you're trying to go line up, they're gonna they're gonna whoop your ass. You know, just like when we're Lampo, when they got those Christmas gifts where they donate to those charity and like bikes and toys, and if you go line up and sign up and trying to get it, after you get the goods, you come back, they got have thugs to come and beat you and steal your goods back. You know, they making themselves look good, but you know, behind closed doors, it's shitty. You know, just like Wells Fargo, you know how they write off their tax, they donate $200,000 to Hmong International New Year's. Okay, Wells Fargo authorized the branch manager to give Hmong International 200,000 grant, you know, to help the New Year's. But what's really going on behind the scene while Wells Fargo is making themselves look good, Hmong New Year will cash the $200,000 check and they will give back like 150,000 back to Wells Fargo. Now Wells Fargo's looking good. They're on the news, you know. Hey, we donated $200,000, but reality, they're not doing that. They're doing that. Wells Fargo's doing it to write off their tax and making themselves looking good. And then Hmong New Year's get $50,000, you know, and they write off. They have their friend write off, bring all this fake receipt, and so they can write off their tax on their end. You know, this is how they're laundering money and embezzling money and making themselves look good, but nobody knows what's behind closed door. You know, you only see all the good things in plain sight, but you don't know what's really happening, what's going on. You know, it's a shitty world. You know, this is how all these people are getting richer and richer, while the poor are getting poorer and poorer. You know, it's a very evil, corrupted world, guys. You know, that's what I can never really understand, and now I finally pieced everything together. You know, that's why I'm very angry. It's a fucked up, shitty world, doggy dog world. You know. Just like those pastors. They rape and molest little kids, little boy, and they're all over the fucking news. Do you see any of them going to jail? You know, they just get a slap in the wrist and, you know, they walk free. You know, while your ass is busting ass and you don't haven't committed a crime, your ass is in jail. You know, you see like all those professional sport players, they commit a sex crime or they did something and they walk away just because they're a professional player. You know, it doesn't make them have any special right more than you. You know, but you know, I'm just very angry. I just want to say a little bit so it will knock some sense to the people. You know, to wake up. You know, we live in a fake world, man. Everything looks natural. Everybody looks happy, but are we really happy? Are we really having freedom? You know, we're just a sex slave. We're just a test subject. They throw us in the Hunger Game. If you pay attention, that's why you gotta do everything you gotta do to survive. You know, to put food on the table and to have a shelter under your roof. You know, that's why you gotta do all this evil, selling drugs, running human trafficking, raping, robbing, steal. You know, just to get in your way. You know, I believe that if I work hard, get educated, you know, I'm gonna be successful in life. But that's not how it works, man. I move up 10 step and they knock me down 1,000 step back. You know, that's how shitty the world is. You know? So anybody had any comments, feel free to drop in. Okay, thank you.